Hello and welcome to the Pianote podcast. I am absolutely over the moon excited because we have a very, very special guest today. We have Yvette Young, who is a guitarist, a piano player. She is part of a band called Covet, and her music, both guitar and piano, everything I've listened to so far has just literally blown my mind. I love it so, so much. And I've got about 1,000 questions for you, and I'm so excited to be talking to you. So I'm going to try to pace myself and be organized and clear, but I can get a little distracted like a squirrel sometimes. So I apologize in advance.
All good. Thank you for having
Thank you for being here. Okay, so you're known as a guitar player. I mean, I'm looking behind me and I'm seeing guitars. But legend has it that you started out as a piano player. You started with piano.
correct. I started piano when I was 4. Uh, Everyone in my family pretty much plays piano, some accordion, and I guess just en route to become a classical pianist. My cousin actually is, she's a professor at UNC. She's a piano professor.
Oh, wow.
So everyone in my family just has a really strong piano foundation. And then after piano came violin, and then guitar, I picked up super late in the game.
And would you say that's your preferred instrument now?
I a guitarist will kill me for saying this. I love piano.
Hmm.
I think I said this in another podcast, but I was like, I think piano is truly the superior songwriting instrument just because it is such a great way to visualize polyphony. No other instrument, like, okay, on a fretboard in guitar, there's like a billion ways you can play like a chord, right? And then I don't think harmonizing yourself is as cut and clear as on a piano where you literally have like it's built for left hand being like accompaniment and then right hand being like kind of like your lead, more main melody, but you can like cross over. So to me, it's like the best instrument to start on, and I'm super grateful that I started on piano.
I love that. There's one of the first things I noticed when I listened to your music, um, is your piano music, especially, is like it's not classical music, obviously, but it does the same thing to my brain as listening to Bach.
What? That's so nice.
So, like, whenever I listen to or play Bach, it's like something's happening inside my head where it's like time stops and it feels like a brain massage. And there's no way to explain it other than that's just what Bach does to my brain. But I had the exact same experience when I was listening to your piano album, where it just felt like there was so much going on that my brain just sort of like settled in and enjoyed the ride. So
Aw, that's an incredible compliment because Bach is, and I don't feel like that much of a genius, but that's so sweet. I guess it's like polyphony thing, and
must
then
be.
I also do a lot of I don't Bach doesn't do this, but the compound meter thing it like can throw people off.
Ah,
But like I feel like it's for, but it's,
sorry, I just got like a little blip in the connection there. Um, could you say that last line one more time because I feel like it was important.
yeah. I was saying maybe it's the compound meter stuff that I
Mm.
do because I guess I feel like most people who are listening to music in four aren't really used to stuff that like adds a beat or like is a repeating bar of seven or stuff that has polyrhythmic things going on. But I like even though I use compound meters, I always like to make it feel like four, so people don't even know they're listening to some crazy shit.
That's so kind of you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, seriously, one of my things is like rhythm is one of my biggest struggles. And so I have some questions for you later on about how you process rhythm. But I want to circle back because you started when you were 4. And one of the things that I was thinking about as I was thinking about having a conversation with you was you grew up in a situation where it's like you were going to learn the piano. It wasn't like, would you like to learn the piano? It's like you learn the piano. So do you think that, left to your own devices, you would have pursued that on your own if that hadn't been a part of your like upbringing?
Real talk, I wanted to play basketball. But
Hey,
I am definitely not physically gifted stature wise. I don't know how well that would have worked out. My
hmm.
heart was um I guess, you know, it's one of those things where my parents introduced me to music from a very young age. Like I was 4. So they were like, I didn't really, it's not like something I chose to do. I wasn't like, I want to play the piano player. If anything, I think I wanted to like be a firefighter and play basketball. Like, I think
I love that.
be a paleo. Oh, I wanted to dig for fossils because I saw like Indiana Jones or something. And I was like, yo, this guy rules. Um, but anyways, yeah, my parents are like, you're going to play piano. Everyone in our family plays piano. So I'm actually looking at my piano right now. It's a mess. I'm not going to show you because it's become guitar case storage.
Mm.
But I mean, you can still play it, but all the cases are like underneath it. But I remember I used to. It was like pulling teeth getting me to practice. I would hide under the piano and like hold the beat, and my dad would have to like pull me. And then we came up with like a sticker chart to incentivize me to practice. So every time I put in an hour, I could put a sticker on the chart, and then if I collect enough stickers, I could get a toy or something like that.
That's
So
incredible. So
yeah.
probably not practicing hours a day when you were 4, but like for if you were to pick an average of the amount of time that the expectation was for you to practice each day, what do you think it was about?
Man, I was awful. I was supposed to practice 4 hours every day.
Mm-hmm.
I when supervised, yes, I would hit that quota for sure. Like honestly, shout out to my parents for even sitting with me for that long to make sure that's some serious time commitment.
Yes.
But I remember so bad. Like in middle school, so my parents, both of them worked. Like they couldn't afford to just like stay home and watch over me. So from a young age, I was kind of like taking care of myself, and I was supposed to be self-driven and practicing piano on my own. But I learned. I'm not telling kids to do this. If you're a kid and you're practicing, do not do this. It's dishonest. But I would wait till so I'd be like watching Yu-Gi-Oh and like eating candy or something in the other room, and then I'd listen for my mom's car to come home, and then I would warm up a bowl of water and put it on the chair so it felt like I had been sitting there for a long. I'd like kind of mess up the sheet music a bit and then put my finger oil on the keys, and as when she walked in, I would start playing, so it seemed like I had been doing it the entire time, but probably watching Yu-Gi-Oh or like some stupid show.
That's amazing. Like that is like a dedication to the art of I don't want to say like deception, but like also yes. That's amazing. Creativity. It's creative.
If only I used that energy for something else.
Well, we all have our if onlys. Um,
You know, my my heart at the time was in visual art. Like I studied art. I ended up studying art and art education in college, but that was my true passion, was like painting and drawing. So for me, I was like, great, I have to practice these songs and I have to get them ready for these stupid piano competitions that I don't want to be a part of. So for me, my heart was elsewhere. So that is why I lied.
I understand. So speaking of piano competitions, I mean, I had a, I was homeschooled. I had a religious upbringing. I was going to learn similar. Like I had to learn piano. It wasn't an option. Well, I wanted to learn, but once I said I wanted to learn, there was no backing out, and I had to go to these piano festivals, which were literally the bane of my existence. And my parents eventually gave up forcing me to go. But talk to me about that. Like the first of all, you're 4, you're starting piano. Did you and your parents are trying to pull you off the legs of the piano, but was there like did you enjoy that? Like did the competitiveness of these competitions kill the love of piano for you, or was it just never really there at the beginning?
I hated that. It was like so much pressure. I literally couldn't eat for a week before piano competitions
Oh.
because I just naturally put so much pressure on myself. Like I feel like just I have this like perfectionist tendency that I'm always in battle with, even as an adult. And I feel like I just put to this day I'm like, yeah, okay, so my parents put a lot of pressure on me to win these competitions. Like definitely there'd be consequences if I didn't. But I also felt like I don't know, I didn't want to let anyone down, and it was like a lot of pressure on a kid's shoulders, so it was actually super unhealthy for me at the time. But the one you asked if I enjoyed any part of it, and I would say from a young age I always knew that what I liked about music wasn't the virtuosic aspect of it, or like wasn't trying to like play uh like a Bach the most period accurate. Like I didn't really care. For me, like I always really enjoyed romantic era music. And I guess I like some classical era. I like romantic and contemporary music because a lot of it was way more dynamic, especially romantic era stuff. Like I always loved like the feel of it and the dynamics. Like I did feel something when I was playing that, even at a young age. I was like, wow, this music is beautiful. Like I think the first time I felt it was playing a Galinka Bluckrave piece, The Lark. Um,
Yes.
Such a beautiful piece, and it just flows. Also, Je Deux by Ravel. I feel like that piece is another just so it's like those are pieces where I'm like invested in this music, even if I'm not playing it like perfect, like accurate. I feel it though. I think that's the most important.
You have to feel it. I think, yeah, I feel the same way about the romantic pieces. Everything else could go in the garbage, but these ones, like, I could find a way to connect to them emotionally, and then it made all the difference, and I'd want to learn them.
Yeah.
Um, so these competitions, and that you're saying, you had a hard time, like you got really nervous for days or weeks before the competitions, and I read, you'd said music is medicine, and so I'm really interested to hear. Like, I do know that you discovered the guitar and that kind of helped you reframe and heal, right? Start that process of approaching music differently. But talk to me a little bit. I think, this is really important with our piano community. One of the things that is the most stressful is the sharing of the music, is the I'm not good enough, or the pressure of it, even though we've created a really like safe and nurturing environment where we're encouraging people to do this. It's not competitive. I think even if you look at it from a competitive standpoint, anytime you have to get in front of people and share your music, it can become stressful. So I would love to hear a little bit more about your experience of that, like through the competitions, and then how you shifted from it being negative to positive.
So yeah, the long story short, the competitive nature of what I was doing, like being forced, like okay, I was what, like 14, 15 years old, and I was balancing having to be like a straight A student at school with being in two orchestras and doing all these piano competitions.
I can't imagine.
I had no life to myself really. So I feel like uh, that combined with maybe even a volatile home life just was a recipe for disaster. And I became a lot of perfectionist people actually end up getting um, eating disorders. So I developed anorexia when I was 16, around 16, and I was hospitalized I was just pulled me out of school because I guess my heart wasn't like beating normally anymore as like arrhythmia, and it would just stop when I was sleeping. So they're like, yeah, she has to just be on strict bed rest, and they gained a bunch of weight because I lost like half my body weight. Um, I was a husky kid, and then I lost half of my body weight, and then nobody recognized me. But when you do it that quickly, that unhealthily, it atrophies your heart muscle. So it's like really dangerous. Um, I'm really lucky to be alive.
Yeah.
Um, and it was during that time in the hospital where I was like, yo, I like want to write music. I want to guitar. And acoustic guitar at the time was the best vessel for me because it's just so portable, and you don't need an amp or anything. So, um, and at the time I had a pretty bad image of music in my mind. Like I associated it with uh, pressure just
Mm.
because I feel like it wasn't a natural passion that I had. It was like one that was forced upon me. And I had all these high standards that had to me. And like, I just associate it with like if I didn't win something with music, then I would get like punished. So it wasn't fun. And but in the hospital I started learning guitar, and I started just like exploring music for myself on my own terms. And what was awesome about it was in the process of doing that, it not only repaired my relationship with music, and I started viewing it as like this like therapeutic meditative thing almost, like the process of writing. That's when I discovered that writing is truly my passion, because it's like I guess even in orchestra, I never really liked playing other people's music. I was like, but what if I would like change time and my conductor would be like, you can't do that. Like, be like, rather play it like this. But
It sounds better this way.
right, but an orchestra mindset is you don't stand out. You're one cohesive unit, right? So you can't be like a maverick outlier and just be like, I'm just gonna play this one note right now and ruin the piece for everyone. Um, so yeah, I guess sorry, I went on a tangent
No,
there.
I love it.
I discovered that I don't like performing other people's music as much as I like coming up with something out of nothing. And it was through that process that I also learned that eating disorder is a complicated thing. Trigger warning or whatever, it's not always about appearance, but a large part of it is like a fixation on appearance and like how your body feels. And it's oftentimes not everyone, but for me, it was a way to control things. Like if anything is going to shit in my life and I feel like I had no grasp over anything in my life, I would just turn to like excessive exercising and calorie restriction and just like the feeling of emptiness to like feel like I had a grasp of anything. And it was like depression as well. And it was through teaching myself guitar that I feel like I discovered that my self-worth could come from something that was not my external appearance, which is, let's face it, we're all gonna like grow old and die. So like you can't help gravity, you can't help your metabolism or whatever. Like it's just an unhealthy thing to be fixated on. But you can help your brain, your mind. You can keep your mind sharp, and you can also like it's just the it's such a cool feeling to like start with nothing and then just an idea, like a little seed, and then through just um perseverance and putting in a lot of time end up like building this entire song. And to me that was like a magical feeling. And I feel like my self-worth became more focused on like what I could create with my hands and what I could like think up with my mind rather than like how much I weighed. And that was like a large part of my recovery too.
That's amazing. That hits me on so many levels. One of my favorite concepts to teach in Pianote is creative expression. So teaching people to understand you've got these ingredients, they sound good together, create a rhythm, and then just start to get lost and explore and see what happens. And that moment where you see people who have had the classical upbringing or have been tied to a page or believe that they never could create, and then to see that light bulb moment where it's like, oh, I just made something. It's the best feeling in the actual world.
It's like magic, doesn't it? Like I feel like the creative process is so interesting because it's not like you can boil it down to a science. Like you can have like all these robots be programmed with algorithms and stuff to create things, but like there's truly like I don't know if that's like a calculated way of going about it. And there's something really cool. It's like such an abstract thing to explain, but I think mastering the creative process, you're never going to 100% always be able to sit down and write something, but I think it's like mastery of it feels when you get your intention kind of aligns with what you end up putting out. So it feels like you're able to like control it a little more. You're never going to be able to fully reliably control it, but like if I'm gonna sit down and be like, today I'm gonna like write something that makes me feel anguish or something, and then like knowing the exact like maybe the chords and the different substitutions that could create that feeling, I guess that's, to me that's like getting as close to mastery of it as possible, but you're never gonna ever fully master it, and I love that.
It keeps us curious, it keeps us striving, it keeps us engaged in the process.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I have a fun question for you about the writing process. So you said that your passion was visual art.
Mm-hmm.
So do you ever have like a connection when you're creating music or writing? Like does color inspire certain sounds or do sounds inspire color for you? Like is there any integration of like visual art and the actual like process of creating music for you?
Oh, 100%. It's like visual art has always been my frame of reference for everything. So I would say in two ways. I always feel like when I write songs, it's like sonic storytelling. So I
Mm.
always have a character in mind. I'm like, okay, here's like, um, you know, a sinister king figure, and I'm gonna like try to create a theme song, or I want this to tell a story of like two kids running into a forest and like just like running away from home. That just sometimes it's silly, sometimes it's like a very concrete thing that like I've experienced even, or I want this one to feel like driving down the road, the windy highway 17, but it's beautiful. So yeah, stuff like that. I always feel like I'm trying to like paint a mood or like set a scene or tell a story or introduce a character through my music. And then if I were to like, I guess that's a more like creative freeform way to integrate music and visual arts. But I guess in a more literal sense, even the way I construct riffs and stuff, it feels like when I sit down and I always start by noodling something and coming up with like a progression I like. And to me, that's like a black and white sketch, right? Like that's your study. And then I sit and I clock in time to refine it. Um, so this is now non-improvisational. It's just me using my composer hat and like being like, all right, this is what I want to create. Like these are the choices I'm gonna make. Songwriting is all about um, decision making, right? So I'm gonna like commit to these decisions, and then I feel like that's like when in a sketch, you have these loosey goosey lines, and then you commit to the line you want, and then you erase everything else. So I feel like that's like that part of the process in visual art, and then my favorite part is actually using effects and tones and different textures like techniques to like color in the black and white drawing. So I'm not going to color in everything. Sometimes it's just going to be my dry tone out of my amp, but like maybe I could put some modulation in like this one section and then some delay in another section, and then it really comes to life. Like this riff that sounds like you're swimming through a kelp forest now with a bit of modulation and a bit of delay and reverb, and now sounds underwater. So like really fun.
I
It's
love that.
I get excited during that part of the process.
Yeah, I can see why. And I've had that, it's that same experience. It's like the beauty of intentionality, right? And it's the finishing touches. I love
Yeah.
I love cake, so I always bring it back to like cake. It's like, how are you gonna decorate this cake? Like you baked it. Now what are you gonna put on it? And I feel that way when I was listening again. So friends, if you're listening to this, you really need to check out Yvette's piano album. It's a journey, and that's how I felt when I was listening to it. I was like, I'm on an actual adventure right now. Like it it felt like I was just like on a journey, and I just wanted to stop everything I was doing and be like, where are we going? Like, what's going to happen next? And then suddenly there's a violin, and then we're like, I'm feeling really emotional and kind of sad. And then like, now I'm like, I'm feeling brave and empowered. It was incredible.
Oh, thank you. That's really cool because I like to like jokingly call my music like adventure rock because I like this is the hero, you're the hero, and then I'm gonna take you to this like climax, and I'm gonna take you to and then I'm gonna like resolve it hopefully. So
That's how it feels.
that's so cool.
You
Thank you.
succeeded, and I swear I did not even read that anywhere when I was reading up on you before this conversation. So that was like from the heart.
Oh, that's like the biggest compliment.
Yeah, I'm winning on the compliments today. But it's true. It is from the heart. So, whew, um, I have like so many questions. I'm just trying to keep my brain on track and semi organized here. So, you you you're a pianist. You discovered the guitar, and then you went on to become like a soloist. And you have this. Did you start the band Covet?
Yeah,
That's
I had a songs that I was sitting on that I wrote in college. Like, okay, in college I studied, uh, I'm double majored in visual performing arts education and fine arts. So I would do like studio practice during the day and some of my GE courses. And I was not a partier, like just not about that social life. So I feel like and I was depressed when I was in college. So I was like, I'm just gonna turn to music. So after class, I would just immediately go back and write music. So I ended up collecting a bunch of songs, and I was like, well, I always wanted to be in a band. So I asked a couple of my friends in LA this wasn't Covet yet. This was like a first band that I had that was in a garage. We jammed out some of the songs, and then I ended up writing more. And when I moved back to the Bay Area, I already had a body of work, and all I needed was some bandmates to play it with.
That's amazing. And so then you started Covet, and now you have your own signature guitar model. Can you please tell me a little bit about this? Because again, my dream is to have a signature piano model, but I'm a ways off. So talk to us about this.
Gonna be Pink Glitter.
Is that your signature one? No, that's gonna be my signature. Is definitely gonna be Pink Glitter.
That's awesome. So I do have I have a signature one that is sparkle. It's actually right here. You can't really see it. I'll show you the one that I play. Because that one you can see the sparkle a little more.
How many guitars do you have in there? Oh my gosh.
Sparkle, I love it. Ooh, I need to clean the fretboard. It's got gunk.
That means it's being used.
I know, it's good. It's relics, right? And then I have an orange one that I'm developing right now. So my whole line is sparkle stuff. And this is the one that's like that you can actually pick up in stores. And this one has like sparkle, but it's like smaller, so you can't see it as well on camera. And then I just to tie in my visual arts degree, it comes with like a sticker pack. So like you can peel them off really easily and interchangeable. You don't even have to put them on the guitar, but I thought it would be a fun way to like have people customize their gear.
Yeah.
With and my plan is for every guitar that I release, I would have like a different sticker pack, so you can like, collect them if you want. Yeah.
That's amazing. Is that like in a moment where you're like, I've arrived, I have my own guitar line?
You know, I feel like I saw that you had a episode about imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
On your website, so I'm like trying to not break this guitar right now. There's no way. Focus. Imposter syndrome, and I feel like that really resonates with me, especially coming from someone who is self-taught. Like I always will kind of feel like I'm not doing something correctly. Like I have my way of doing things. I created my own language in my head. I don't really, I most recently started communicating those ideas with people because I have to play in a band, and you can't just be an island when you're in a band. But I feel like I'm just like comfortable with my own little lexicon. And I just sometimes feel like I'm like, really? I have a signature? Yes. I actually, not to like flex or humble brag or whatever, but like I remember I was offered a signature earlier on, and I just didn't feel like I was ready. I feel like I had a lot more growing to do, in my personal career, in my like literal career trajectory, but also just like personally as an artist, because I didn't even really know what I wanted yet. And as fun as it would have been to jump the gun and be like, okay, I want to flex and have my own signature, I was like, well, I don't want to like run the risk of not even liking it, because I don't know what I want yet. So I clocked in a couple more years, and then I was like, okay,
you bring in your wisdom to it.
Yeah, and I feel like I can really be committed to the product that I'm selling, and really just be passionate about it, and feel confident when I look someone in the eye and I'm like, yes, my signature is a good guitar, because I put that.
I absolutely love that. So do you feel like the piano helped you be amazing at guitar? Do you see a correlation there? Does it change how you think about the guitar?
Yeah, definitely my style. Like I do it less so now, but like I started out doing a lot of like polyphonic finger tapping stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Percussive things, and that's like people are like, you're like the pianist of the fretboard. Like a lot of people are like, oh, you would like really enjoy Eddie Van Halen because like he did that too. And he's a badass, by the way, R.I.P. Yeah, so I feel like it definitely technique wise influenced me. I mean, even down to the fact that I never use a pick. I'm so clumsy with these. It's like I don't even know how to play guitar. And if you ever want to take away all my superpowers, just tell me that I have to use this. And I'm just
good to know.
Samson and Delilah, like all my hair is cut, all my powers are gone. No, but like I feel like even in the way that I approach the fretboard, like to me it feels like and my gear. This is what I discovered when I started playing more different types of pickups and different like just even setups and in the process of trying to discover what I actually like. And I discovered that I really need dynamic pickups. So for me, stuff that's really compressed, I don't like as much because it depends so much on finger tone to like carry the piece. And it's like, I want to be able to dig in and get some overdriven sounds. I want to be able to pull back and have it sound chimey and light. So like, this is just where a pick just isn't would cut it for me. Like I really like having the finger control and it feels like I'm one with the instrument. This still feels like I'm playing through like a vessel, which doesn't feel as natural to me. But some people are like amazing at it, and it's like always something I will admire. I will say it's timbre wise though, like using a pick is great for achieving a tack because I don't grow my nails out because I still do like playing piano. But right, yeah. So I can't really use my nails. So I guess sometimes in the studio, if I have to like tremolo pick, I will use one of these. So I lied earlier when I said I never use a pick. I'm just really bad, is all I'm saying. But yeah, so there's that. And then even in the way I construct pieces, like I'm always thinking polyphonically, and I will attribute that to my classical background because I feel like above all else, if I were to say the one part of theory that I do think is essential for everyone who's trying to be a songwriter, it would be ear training. Because you can sit there and memorize like the circle of fifths and then like memorize what, you know, certain chord shapes and what notes go well with other notes. But like, honestly, like to be able to write a compelling piece of music, it has to flow and you have to make decisions that just like make sense together. So a robot can come up with like a bunch of chords that like sound good together, but it might not be the best song. And I feel like that's like the beauty of having the human portion of it. And ear training has benefited me so much because I can like hear multiple harmonies in my head, like not only just one melodic line going on, but I can be like, oh, I want this to like weave here. And even like rhythmically, I'm like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if this was like syncopated and like, you know, this thing was more of like a steady 4/4, and then like yeah, just like little things like that. I can just hear it. And then for me, the magic is like having it come to life on the fretboard or on the actual keyboard itself, is being able to like hear those pitches and know exactly where they are and find them. And, like just be really familiar with how things are spatially relative to each other. So yeah.
I absolutely love that.
Yeah, that's the most important thing to me.
Is the
From
ears. So with piano, did you do any of the Royal Conservatory exams? Like was that part of your journey?
I did the certificate of merit program.
Okay.
And I hated it. It was like so nerve-wracking for me, especially the sight reading portion. To this day, I'm just like the world's worst sight reader.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
no lie, in orchestra, I just this has become classical music confessional for me. I feel like here where I'm just telling you all the times I've like done something bad. But like even in orchestra, so I was lucky enough, like I worked hard for this. Like I was lucky enough to be I alternated co-concertmaster and concertmaster in orchestra for the time I was there, and in CYS, California Symphony. And then I got, for the years that I was sick, I like wasn't that, I like took a back seat. But for the years that I didn't like, I just hated sight reading. So I would never actually want to like, when it came time to do the audition, I would never actually read the piece. What I would do is I would listen to the piece a billion times and then just like learn it by ear. So it was really it was really confusing for the conductor because when I was in, I think he like hated me actually. I doubt he's listening to this, so I can just safely say I think he like hated me because I remember he would put music in front of me and I would all of a sudden be just like really awful. But then sometimes I would, even if I didn't know how to play something, I just listen to the person behind me in real time, like be able to like copy what they're doing. So I'm just like a music chameleon, I guess.
Your
But
ear
yeah,
has really helped you. It's how you that's how you do music.
yeah, that's literally how I write too. I like sing stuff. I always tell people if you don't know where to go with a song, like drop your instrument and just sing the melody you want. Like your voice first instrument. Everyone plays an instrument. It's your voice. Even if you're the worst singer ever, who cares? Like you know what you're trying to go for. So like for me, if I don't know where a riff's supposed to go, I'll like put my riff guitar down and I'll be like, I'll just start humming and then I'll find it on the fretboard. And ear training helps me find it quickly.
That makes sense to me. Okay, so then I have to ask you the question, when did you start singing?
uh I guess like ever since I started writing music, I was like, oh, I'll have lyrics. And at the time when I was in the hospital, I had like really embarrassingly emo lyrics. I think I was like listening to a lot of like Evanescence or something. So I was just like dark goth world.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So I wrote a lot of lyrics back then and I just sang as an outlet, like almost like a diary to myself about how I was feeling. And I would write lyrics expressing things that I couldn't necessarily say um, to someone up front. So it was, yeah, it was like a great source of therapy for me at the time. And then I feel like I stopped singing in my band because I think at the time I was trying to avoid being labeled as like female fronted, and I feel like I don't know why this is, but like every time um every time there's like a girl singer in a band, I feel like everyone highlights that. And um, I just wanted it to be about the music. I didn't want my gender identity to be any part of the discussion.
Yep.
I just wanted to listen to the music and be like, that's a cool band, and not be like, oh, there's a girl singer or whatever, and she's like the front lady. Um, so, and plus, I feel like a lot of my guitar melodies are somewhat lyrical in the way that I approach it because they do start out as vocal melodies.
That's
Uh,
amazing.
yeah, it's like a cool process. But then I was like, why am I afraid of being labeled? Like whatever serves the music should be the law. So I was like, I hear lyrics, so I'm just gonna start singing in the band.
Good. I think it's really good. I like you have such a beautiful voice, and I think you know if we're looking at the theme of music and healing and the feeling in the body, like of being the instrument, like the resonance that you experience when you're creating sound as a human being, I don't know that there's anything quite like it. And I think that's probably one of my favorite things about singing. It's like, take the words away, take away, trying to sound amazing, but just how it actually physically feels to create sound. That's a whole other thing.
And it helps you like kind of even be one with the instrument, like when you're able to like sing while you play.
Yes.
It also really like finger independence and like independence in your brain to like be able to do the two things. It's just like a cool exercise in itself. But yeah, and everyone, it's cool because everyone has a unique voice too.
That's another thing that I love. I spent a lot of like, but prior to my piano years, music therapy was like a really is an area that I just was really fascinated by, and I ended up working with kids that had experienced trauma, and how you could use music to like increase literacy, heal trauma, develop connections with caregivers, like all of these sort of layers. And what I discovered was it's the combination of creating sound and being the instrument, and then also repetitious rhythmic movement. So anytime you're like playing a rhythm on a hand drum or playing something on the piano, things happen in your brain. Like it's incredible, the result of that. And so this always causes me to circle back to rhythm, which is my next question for you, because that was probably what stood out to me the most. Was like my brain wanted to just explode listening to you play like both the piano and the guitar, because I was like, oh my gosh, how are you doing this? How did you develop such an incredible sense of independence and rhythm? My mind is blown. I don't understand it.
That's so sweet. Like I truly think it's like I said, my process is I don't even think about theory. I don't think about the key. I don't think about the mode. I don't think about the what time signature I'm in at all. Like I guess I think it's because I grew up listening to like such complex music. It just was ingrained in my musical vocabulary from a young age. Like when you play a child Shostakovich or something, it's just activating parts of their brain. It's like a language, right? Like you expose a child to like a multilingual um, background from a young age, and then they're just able to like pick up new languages quicker because they already have like that seed planted in their mind. So I feel I super attribute it to just me being exposed to like a vast body of music when I was little. And I also feel like I discovered prog and math rock and stuff when I was learning music around like high school, early college time, or sorry, learning guitar, not music. uh, yeah, so I feel like a lot of that music is hella complicated, and it just became natural to me to feel these things in 5 or 7, and like I didn't even think about it. To me, like if anything, it's so funny. I find writing in 4 to be something I actively have to think about.
What?
Because I automatically want to write these compound meter things because that's what I sing. Like when you speak a sentence and stuff, like it's not always going to be like this. It's like like that's what I love about like again composers like Ravel and Debussy. It's like flowy. So for me, I like writing flowy music, and sometimes it means like stuff that's not to like a grid that's in 4. So yeah, that's my very convoluted way of saying. Um, I feel like it's just ingrained into me, and it's like okay. A great example of it would be like people who grow up listening to a lot of microtonal music. Like I feel like their reference, they don't really think in terms of like just a generic scale, right? Like they can hear all these like pitches in between. So I feel like they're especially like pitch sensitive. So for me, it's like I just grew up listening to a bunch of music that wasn't in 4, and so to me, it's like just a more accessible thing. It's
That's
like part of language.
That's fair. So for somebody, I always want to encourage people to, get into that process of developing the independence, developing the rhythm, and sticking with it. But there's always these like moments of frustration, right? Where especially when you're hand independence and rhythm, I think are the main areas where it's like you can come up to this wall where it just feels like you cannot break through. Has that ever been an experience for you? And what advice would you have for somebody who is wanting to get past that?
Oh, absolutely. I would feel like so if you're ever struggling with like playing something that's like you're asking about like playing something where it just feels a little awkward,
Yes.
right? Like because it's a different time signature, so you're not used to it. I would say the main thing is slow it down and don't try to do 2 things at once. Get comfortable doing one, and then add. Okay, so like I'm thinking of when I taught myself how to do there's this part in a song I have called Jolt where it's like the left hand is like doing like kind of like a odd meter thing while the right hand is doing this like ostinato pattern,
Whew.
and be able to like think about that separately. Like I definitely like slowed it down, and I will say that accents are your best friend even if you don't like the final product, like even if it's not like super pronounced accents, like really knowing where you want the downbeat to be and like forcibly adding that accent in helps you solidify that, and then you can take the accents away. um
I love that. That's really smart.
yeah, I always like when I'm teaching someone something that's like an odd meter, I tell them put an accent on like like the 1. So if you have to play something 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7, really exaggerate that 1, and it helps you like solidify that feel, and then you can take away the accent, and then you're used to hearing something that's 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 6 7.
Brilliant. That's amazing advice. So, okay, we're kind of coming to the end of our time here. So, I just wanted to ask you, for curiosity's sake, do you have a favorite composer or 2 or 5?
Ooh, okay, so like I guess if we're talking about uh older composers um, that are not alive, I do really have like a lot of admiration for Bach. I feel
Mm.
like he's just prolific, and then writing Baroque music, so like I don't know his crazy mind, and it's just such like a peaceful, meditative thing to listen to. I feel, um,
Yes.
yeah, it's and then I feel like I really do love romantic era composers like Ravel. I just think he's brilliant. Debussy, um, a lot of impressionist composers I really like. And then I guess going a little more modern, I really do like a lot of movie score composers. Some people that I really admire this day would be well, I sorry, there's one more composer I want to list. I remember playing Ralph Vaughan Williams in orchestra, and I really, really enjoyed his. I think it's called Fantasia on a theme by Thomas Tallis. That piece, it was in Master and Commander, and it was just such a beautiful um, piece. I hope I'm not butchering the name. Sorry if I am. And then I guess moving forward, modern day people I really enjoy. Obviously, Richie Sakamoto. I feel like he is a master of tension and sitting in it for a long time. And I wish I could sit in tension that long. I love resolving things. I love having this like blithe, pleasant experience. But he just sits there and he just lets you wallow in atonal hell for like forever. So I really, and then it's just so moving, like the way his strings like weave in and out. Like he makes me feel like the most rigid person on the planet. And I
Mm.
really enjoy how his pieces feel like living, breathing organisms. And he's okay with stuff not lining up. And I love that. Really love Olafur Arnalds. He does like the more pleasant sounding stuff. He also does play with tension a lot, but he did this. A lot of people have a problem with this, but he reimagined like Chopin. So he has this whole album where he just like expanded on Chopin. I love Chopin. I can't believe I didn't mention Chopin.
It's a
He
given,
did,
that's why.
yeah, it's a given. Chopin's incredible, but he like added to these pieces and with Sarah. I don't know what to say her name. She's Icelandic. Sarah. I don't know what to say her name. I'm sorry. This lady named Sarah. She's sick at strings. Like, so they and did that. Nils Fromm, love him. And then who else? I feel like there's one more person. Uh, I'll probably remember it later.
As soon
But
as
yeah,
we get off this podcast, you're gonna think of it. It's like, what?
yeah. Oh man, just like piano soundtrack artist, minimalist piano soundtrack artist. I love it. Dustin O'Halloran's great too.
Okay. I think our listeners are gonna be like creating playlists just based off of that list.
I guess I can shout out some of my friends who write music that I like. This guy, I don't know how to say his name. He's a German guy. Hior, Hior, Hior Chronic. He's really amazing as well. He does like more minimalist string piano compositions.
I love
So
strings. I just discovered, I'm really late to the game, but like Max Richter did something with, was it Nina Simone, This Bitter Earth it's called?
wow.
And there's a string section. Have you heard it?
I've heard Max Richter stuff, but I don't think I've heard of
The violin, like the first time I heard it, I literally cried. And it's just the most beautiful. He's sampled in some of Dinah Washington's singing, and then this violin is playing this run riff, and it's just so
beautiful.
Yep.
I want to say I feel like I didn't mention this earlier, but um, I I used to hate classical music growing up because I associated with pressure, right? Like I was like boring. I'm playing other people's music. Like I don't want to follow rules. But now feel like coming into like I fell back in love with classical music and like just like the world of composers as an adult, and I feel like now I have more maturity, and I'm able to appreciate like all the thought that goes into like composing a piece like that. And I just have so much appreciation for the classical world and how beautiful the music is. It's timeless. It's truly timeless. Like a lot of our pop music, I don't think it's timeless. Like it's like a trend, right? But then composers like Bach and like, you know, um, Chopin, Mozart even, I feel like it had its purpose for the time. Like, but even hundreds of years later, it's still as relevant and important. So
there's a reason why we keep coming back to it every single generation. So then,
yeah.
like as a final thought, I guess maybe as you arrived as a composer and established your own identity and found yourself as an artist, that enabled you to go back and then appreciate those classical composers and artists. It's like kind of this beautiful little circle as you became your own musician. You're able to see it differently.
Oh, I'm sorry. What was the question? I think it froze a bit.
Oh no. Oh, I was just saying, as you became your own artist, your own composer, and walked that journey for yourself, that's what enabled you to then go back and appreciate all of the composers that you used to be such a cause of stress for you.
Yeah, I think it was two things. It was like taking away the stress factor, like no more competitions, right? Music for the sake of music, music for the sake of enjoyment, for self expression, for therapy, for what music was, I feel like, first created to do. It was an outlet, right? People wanted to express themselves. Ooga booga, I'm gonna hit this rock.
Yes.
Show my love to you. But like, yeah, I feel like it's just stripping away all that pressure, right? And just taking the stakes out of it, the high stakes out of it. I was able to fall back in love with it, but also just diving into composition myself and realizing how many things you have, how many variables you do have to think about, and how much of it is just like it's like this magical process that I still don't feel like I have control over. And then like analyzing all the music that I used to play, and I'm just like, holy cow, that's brilliant! Like, wow.
That's amazing. And I think that's like the perfect place to leave off because I think there's just something so inspirational for our listeners, you know, for the piano members, for our community to look at that and understand like the process is about taking the pressure off. It's not striving to perfection, it's striving toward expression. And
Yes, and fun. Like life is so short. Don't beat yourself up over comparing yourself to others or whatever. Like even in my own career trajectory, I think the key to staying like fulfilled and feeling happy and not succumbing to the pressure to write music to please other people or to even please like record labels or whatever is just like me genuinely having this love for it and tuning out everyone else. Like my learning process, my trajectory is going to be different than someone else's. So I shouldn't feel like I have to compare myself. Like I'm okay where I am, and I'm only going to compare myself to my past self.
that is incredible. That makes I love that so much. I keep saying that, but I'm just really, really happy about everything that you've said. I'm feeling so inspired myself, and I just know that our community is going to be so inspired by listening to you as well. So thank you.
Of course, it's a pleasure. Like I took a look at some of the videos on your channel, and I think you've created this like really awesome, nurturing community, and all your videos are super fun to watch, and it is like this academic, like intimidating thing. So I think you're doing great work here, Lisa.
Thank you so much. That means a whole bunch coming from you. So I appreciate your time. I am so excited for our community to meet you and to listen to your music. And thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Of course, anytime. Let me know if I can ever help again in the future.
Oh, you'll be hearing from me.
Sick. And I'll give that hair dye recommendation.